Okay, I think we are officially live on YouTube. I'm going to double check. Hold on. Trying to maneuver this and Zoom at the same time is super. Hey, we're on. Okay, good deal. And it looks like I think everybody is here. That's wonderful. And I have to apologize because, I wonder if I can just display settings instead of doing, I'm going to just mirror, which will be much easier for me. Okay. Now I got to share my screen again. Hold on. You guys are going to see duplicate there for a second. Oh. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Huh. Yes. Okay, I'm not sure why it's not showing over there anymore. Okay, I have to go back to the other way I was doing it. Sorry. Oh, that's why. It's not duplicating. All right, now I can do it, and now it's showing on YouTube too. Wow. I feel like I have just accomplished the impossible right now. I seriously do. Well, why don't, Jim, we're going to have you take over as chair today. Carolyn has resigned her position with the board due to personal conflicts or personal reasons. So we're currently without that additional board member, but Mayor Everson does have someone that he will be looking at appointing at the next meeting. So if I could talk you into running the meeting for us, that would be fantastic. I know the format looks a little bit different from what you are used to seeing in the past, but this is more standardized to city business format. Really, state law says that any action you're going to take on the agenda has to be scheduled. So having that old and new business label really doesn't provide a lot of benefit in government agendas. So if you don't mind calling us to order, we can get started.
All right, we'll call this is, I guess, what we'll call a sort of special meeting. We've missed a number of meetings in the library board due to forum issues, and then also the situation with coronavirus that really doesn't bear any explanation. We're all aware of it. So anyway, we're going to call the library board meeting to order for what will probably be the March and April meeting, as well as the May meeting. So we've got about 3 months worth of business to do here. First item we're going to have to do is approve the agenda. Are there at this point any additions to the agenda? There being none.
I don't have anything.
There being none, is there a motion to approve the agenda as printed, published, and made available to the public?
Move to approve.
I heard a motion and a second from Steve and from Denny, and all those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the agenda is approved. Next item we have are the minutes from the last session of the library board, which was in January of 2020. Has everybody had a chance to review those minutes? They were distributed last week with the notice of this meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
No. None that I have.
Nor me.
Okay, there being no suggestion that we need to have any additions or corrections to the minutes, they'll stand approved as presented. Then we have the minutes of our executive session, which I'm not sure when that was held, December 7th.
It looks like December 7th, and I apologize if you already took action on these. I was just going off of what was showing kind of outstanding in the agenda center. I do not have minutes from the last executive session that we had last week.
Okay, as far as the executive session on Was that the 27th? Yeah, that was the 27th of January. Frankly, I can't remember if we've ever approved these or not. So, everybody had a chance to review those minutes from January 27, 2020. Is there any additions or corrections?
Not by me.
Not by me.
There being none, those will be approved as they were published as well. All right, do we have anything for citizens input?
We do not have anyone here in council chambers, and I don't see anybody else on Zoom either. So we have board of directors input later, so I think you can move on past that one.
And I'll just report that, interestingly enough, it was either Thursday or Friday last week, I got a phone call from a citizen, a fellow by the name of Alan Dolmeyer, who I've known for a long time, did some work for his family when his father passed away years ago. He said he's a regular library user, and he was just curious when the library was going to reopen. And I advised him that we'd be talking about that today. So we have a little indirect citizen input there, just thought I'd mention that.
I did get 2 additional calls today asking the same thing. We did issue a press release last week that said tentatively the date was May 18th, pending conversation with the library board today.
And I was at the library all day today, and we had several people stop by and call, hoping that it was open today.
So it's good that we're considering that, and that's obviously coming up later on the agenda. So excellent. Well, that moves us on to the financial report, item 5 on the agenda. Who wants to tackle that one?
I'll start off, and I think Jessica might have some additional information, at least on the trustee account. I maybe am not going to follow exactly the format that you have there. First and foremost, what I would like to say to the board, just as a general note, we're finding that some of the reports that maybe you were used to seeing, like I have learned that Sandy used to put together a report of bills paid after they were already approved by council. There was a lot of kind of duplication of work that was maybe happening, and so
Yeah, the timing of that sometimes crossed over with council meetings, Stephanie. So sometimes the library board was getting them after the council meeting, and sometimes we'd get them before the council meeting. But
according to Sandy, they were
it
always,
wasn't really seemed to be coordinated.
and according to Sandy, it sounds like they were probably always after they were paid, but Sandy ran a report to make it look like it was an open items register. The one thing I just wanted to note to the board is that with the new director coming on board, we will be able to, they have the ability to run these reports right from their computer. It's not something that we need to recreate in Excel. It's not something that we need to come to the finance office and have them do for us. You can get an up-to-date, all claims, even if they're not paid, they're still going to show in the account management software. So we'll make sure when you get a new director hired that they are trained on how to run that, so you guys are getting accurate information. I guess a couple things that I just pulled together for your review. This first one just shows, and of course, this is an expenditure report, and this is year-to-date as of April 30th. Ooh, how do I move this over? Oh, okay, so there you can see. A couple things that were concerning is when you get into the individual budget lines, obviously we had a payout this year. That's why this one's higher here. That's what we were trying to recoup with offset, reductions at other places. But I do want to point out that by and large, so this third column versus the fourth column. The third column is 2019. We've actually spent $3,000 more year to date this year than we did last year in the current expenses. And you're more also on capital. And when I visited with Jackie, she originally, before she retired, she had sent me an email stating what they had canceled for subscriptions and some of those other things. Jessica and I are seeing that those bills are still coming. I don't think they were ever canceled. So our whole conversation that we had on the replacement of the employee is really kind of invalidated now because she doesn't have those other savings that she set aside. I think you could still recoup maybe some of that payout, which we were at $13,000, by holding back, and we'll talk about that a little bit more when you get into your policy recommendation for reopening. But I don't think we're probably going to need to staff at the same level we did with part-time. I think you can save quite a bit there. And Jessica might have some additional recommendations for savings as we get into the operations a little bit more. I know she's still finding bills and things that were in the director's office. So it's a little bit concerning to me because each department was told that they have to find a certain amount of reductions in order for the city to make our budget. And the list of items that I was given are not going to be realized because we're paying more this year than we did last year.
So essentially what was represented to have been canceled or what had been adjusted was not canceled or adjusted? Is that what I take from your comments?
That's what it appears as though it's happened, yes. And I mean, I'm just starting to get emails on outstanding invoices and bills, and we have staff that have ordered supplies and things like that. So I think it's going to take us a little bit more to get into, and on the next item that we have on designating signers, we can talk a little bit more about that, but we're going to have to get a handle of the trustees account too. I also wanted you as a board to see this monthly expenditure report. So this groups each of the items that they're purchasing each month. And so like I said, if you look at April, look how high we were on the current expenses, which is really your operational expenses. You know, it did go down in March, but then we went back up in April. February, there was a utility bill, so that kind of makes sense. Maybe that's what the April one is too. But we had a whole lot of supplies purchased in February and booked. We don't show any bills here in April and March, but that's because Jessica and I are just finding invoices for them now. So you are going to see those get added, so you'll probably have more in May than what you're seeing there, and you can see some already coming through in May too.
I do have quite a few bills that I found today.
Oh, yeah, more so. And then this report, if you're interested, this one breaks down every bill, and I did from...
Yeah, that was a new one to me that I hadn't seen at any of the times I've been on the library board.
Well,
Yeah, neither have I.
it's just another report that we can run that shows you all the bills that were charged to each general ledger line from the beginning of the year.
And by date.
Yep, and it shows by date. And I thought that might be helpful for you as you're kind of looking what we have purchased so far, and you know, you can see what those expenditures have been. Two other things, and actually, I don't know if I can bring it up on Wi-Fi. You know what? I don't think I have it downloaded on here. You have two other accounts. Well, that's really all I have, I guess, if we want to move past the financial report. The rest is maybe more discussion under the designating signers and kind of the director's report too.
Now, do we have expenditures that we need to approve that are pending, or where are we at? Because that was always a big deal, that the library board had to approve monthly expenditures, and where are we at here, or was that a carryover from some prior financial process that we were just stuck in?
Well, I still think that the board should be reviewing those expenditures on a monthly basis, but to be quite frank with you, Jim, we're wrapping our heads around of what the invoices are outstanding, so I couldn't even give you that right now. Everything that has been submitted would be on this report that you see on the screen. Everything else...
This is what we know is out there, and
this is everything that's already been paid. What's out there, we're still trying to find.
Gotcha.
And so,
we'll see that.
Okay, so that would be, we would look at in June of the stuff we're trying to figure out right now?
Yes. We're trying to get our arms around what's out there right now. And some of them are like online billing stuff that now they're starting to contact us about past due notices. So we're trying to get access to what those invoices are because we don't even know what those are.
So did any of those things that were supposed to be sent back get taken care of?
I do not believe so. From what I was finding, I don't believe so.
Wow.
So
Because we
we'll
were
look
over in January, and that was your big concern that I recall, Jessica. But the mayor was concerned that certain departments had gone over, and the libraries was because things ordered in 19 necessarily didn't get paid in 19, and so we were way over in January. So that's why I don't know the details on what those things were, but some of those things are going to be sent back or canceled.
I think
But that's done then.
Yeah, I think one of the communication back to staff, and it seems just from the last staff meeting that I think individual staff members even had purchasing authority, and I think what needs to happen is there just need to be a purchasing freeze. We need to get a handle on what's out there, look at what the monthly expenses are before we start going back and purchasing more items.
Okay.
And do we think we can get that by June or July?
I think so. I have a pretty good grip on things after going through the office today. I spent all day going through the entire office, all the files, all the bills, and now that I have everything, I should be able to get through it within this week or next week. We'll have a good grip on everything. It's just making sure that they're not making the purchases that they have been making.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I seem to recall that we have some sort of recurring subscription services.
Yep.
So those are gonna be coming along no matter what.
Well, those are the ones that she told me she had suspended some of them, and they were not.
There's those bills in the bill cabinet today.
Well, it'd be great if you guys can,
I'm sorry, I missed that, Jessica.
Those subscriptions that were supposed to be canceled, I found bills for those in the bill file today, so they were not canceled.
all right, so we'll need to see from you guys because I don't recollect, and I can probably find in my notes if I dig back, but what it was that supposedly was going to be canceled and returned. So could you organize a list of those so that we can take a look at it and make sure that what is to be canceled does get canceled? Because that's unacceptable that we talked about that in January or February and it never got done. And then we'll just have to address at our next meeting what the payables are that are overdue and get things caught up.
Yep, and the other thing then I think is going to be after this meeting, we're gonna communicate to staff that there's a spending freeze and that we're gonna have to go through an approval process before anything's ordered, just to kind of, because it seems like each area is kind of going their own way and with purchasing. So I think until we got a better idea of where we are and how we're gonna recoup the required savings, I just think they need to be on that spending freeze.
Okay.
And you indicated that apparently there are various library employees who have purchasing authority?
Yes, they all do.
Okay, is there a motion from the Board of Trustees to immediately terminate purchasing authority on behalf of any library employees, and all purchases will have to be approved through?
Jessica,
Okay, Jessica.
What are we
I was
calling
just
you, Stephanie, the acting director, or whatever you are?
I think you say through Jessica is fine. She's doing the invoicing and the billing right now. Jackie's helping her with that, so that's perfect.
I'll make that
Jackie
motion.
Larson in my office, sorry.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I would move that, I would agree with that, Kim, however you worded it, I move that.
So there's a motion to suspend all employee purchasing authority with the library staff, and nothing's gonna be bought, ordered, or paid for without Jessica's approval.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion on that subject? If not, all those in favor signify with an aye.
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 Any opposed? Well, that motion carries.
Okay, then.
Now, I think I made a mistake. Back when we approved the agenda and started the meeting, I didn't ask for a roll call to know who's all on this electronic meeting.
Oh, yeah.
I see Steve and I see, I see Brian Temple.
Brian looks a little different now. It happens to be Ann, but
Yeah. So, did I hear Danny too?
Yes. Oh, I thought he was on.
he is on, but he's muted.
Okay.
Was picture's not on anymore. There he is.
There. I need to make him bigger.
For me, but I don't hear him.
And so we've got Temple, Rice, Taylor, Nath, and Margheim is absent.
No, he's here. He's with me.
Oh, Dave, are you there?
Oh, I didn't know that. Hi, Dave.
Oh.
Well,
Actually,
Okay.
I should put him on the video versus me.
So now,
And Jessica is open.
yeah, so I just wanted to make sure, so we really do have a quorum and we can do
Yep.
business, so that's good.
But Denny is still.
Are you able to hear me now?
Now we can hear you.
Okay, good. Real good. So, we're all set. Well, that motion about suspending purchasing authority moved, seconded, and passed. So, the next item we have, unless there are any further questions on the financial report and the action we just took, moves on to the signers on the bank account for the trustee account.
Something with the financial report?
I think we'll do that in the directors. Is that okay?
Is
there something
to approve there?
Well,
Basically, it's a report. I don't see that there's any action we need to approve. So,
what did you have, Jessica?
It was in regards to all the cash, if that should be deposited. Is that directed?
I was gonna kind of go through all those open items that we found, Jessica, under the director's report, if that's okay?
Perfect.
Does that work?
okay.
Because there's a bunch.
Okay, so let's go on to, item number 6. We need new signatories on the trustee bank account at First National Bank Omaha.
Before, it was listed as, I believe, Carolyn and Jackie Hess, and Jessica is diving into the trustee's bank account, and so we need her to have access to the account, and then we need the board to designate signers on the account. I can also tell you that one of the issues, or I don't know if you'd call it issues, oops, I can't do that. I'm trying to get the microphone over here so we're still on YouTube. Hold on. Okay, so one of the issues that we've had in the past is when we need the finance officer has not had access for auditing or anything to that account. She would get a copy of the bank statement and that's it. I don't know if that was a direction from the Board of Trustees, but I do know that Jackie had stated that, I thought she didn't, Michelle told me I thought that Jackie said it was state law, but you can, the Board of Trustees needs to designate who your signers are, but just as a point of consistency, I think it would be a good idea to always have your finance officer as an authorized access so that she can view the online checks and statements when needed, because otherwise she was having to call the director for copies of things when needed.
So who's authorized on the account now? Jackie,
And-
Carolyn?
Jessica, I don't know if we actually got the signer changed yet.
No, it was
Okay.
just Jackie and Carolyn.
And Stephanie, your question is who to put on there, but then also put the finance officer on there?
I feel like you need to have a way for auditing purposes. If there was ever a concern with improprieties or something, you want to have another person that has a checks and balance and not just one person who's in control of the checking account. I guess another conversation, I think Jessica and I had this conversation. It's all blurring together, Jessica. Typically when you have access to a checking account, you're not having the same person write the check who's also reconciling the statement. Now, Michelle does get a copy of the bank statement, but the problem that they will tell you when we go for training with the Municipal League and others and Public Assurance Alliance is that people can edit those documents, and they could hold a statement or withhold the checks and change it to look like something else. So really for accountability purposes, you should always try to have that broke up as much as possible. And I do think there needs to be a way for someone that's separate and distinct from the library to be able to get in when there's issues to make sure that there isn't something maybe that's against what the board's direction was or city policy or whatever it may be.
Well, I think what we need to do is have the account accessible so account information and account records can be shared with the city finance office, but the authority to draw against the account should be limited to the trustees and or the library director.
And I think you could designate your chair, which in the interim, Jim, might be you, and then Jessica as the signers on that account until we get a librarian hired. And then we can bring that back to the Board of Trustees for action when you have someone hired.
Yeah, and I agree completely with you having accessibility with the finance office so that they can get directly the trustee account information. Now, that doesn't mean that the trustees' funds are subject to disbursement to the city through its general fund. That only happens through the trustees.
Right.
But information sharing is fine.
Are we talking about the trustee account or the accounts that have like the payroll and all of that?
No, just the trustee account.
Just the trustee account?
Just the trustee account, right?
Okay.
Yes. And I don't think the finance officer needs to be a signer because then those expenses are still going to the trustees. But I would also maybe suggest that it be, maybe you need two signatures and not just the one. Jessica and I Jessica found a couple other things in going through the check account that, we don't have the full copies of voided checks yet, so we can't give you a full breakdown, but I do believe that.
I found them today.
Oh, did you? Okay. If you're purchasing supplies for the library out of the trustee account, it would probably be better practice to have those checks written to where those supplies are going and not writing checks to employees.
Agreed.
There's a lot of checks that are reimbursing employees, and that's just not good for auditing purposes. I think you as a board of trustees should have a better way of tracking and controlling those expenses.
In regard to your first comment about not having the finance office as a signatory on the check, you're never going to sell that to the board of trustees that the finance office would be a signatory on the trustee account.
Right.
Not the city's money.
Right.
So you're right, spot on that one. But I think I agree with you completely on dual signatures.
And so, Jessica, we think what was happening is a library person would go out and buy some supplies that the Board of Trustees said we needed, and then we would write a check back to that personal person.
That's exactly what was happening.
Why do I not remember seeing any reports on the trustee account? All I ever remember seeing is the balance.
And we'd get the bank statement and then the written balance for that day or whatever exactly, but I don't remember
seeing individual checks. I feel like if we saw checks written from the trustee account to an employee, we would have noticed that, wouldn't we?
I don't.
So, and the thing I found is these checks were written to employees, but there was nothing to support that's how much they had spent. I didn't find any receipts for anything when I cleaned out the office today.
Okay, so that needs to be part of
We need to approve that.
spending freeze. No.
That's why I think I said that I think you can improve the process of the reporting and the accountability of that trustee's account. I also think just knowing that there's access for someone else viewing the account, I'm not saying anything
Yeah.
has happened negatively or will in the future, but that's always just an extra check and balance of accountability that we know someone else is looking. If the board wants to go on record saying that any checks written out of that account for supplies should be paid to where they're purchasing them and not to an employee directly, that's something that then would be easier to flag when we're finding something that's maybe not following that trustee policy too.
Sure.
Yeah, I believe in the past, we would get reports that would indicate X number of dollars from the trustees fund was spent for this or that purpose, but we wouldn't see the specific disbursement itself.
Okay.
And I applaud what you've discovered and are pointing out, because as far as I was concerned, if we were purchasing, I can't think of what it might
Craft
be.
supplies.
If we were purchasing it, I would assume it came from vendor X, not that employee Y purchased it and got reimbursed
Right.
expense to vendor X. That needs to stop. We need to do business directly. I agree with you.
So I think it would be good for the board to take action to first grant access to the finance officer for viewing of the account. To second, designate temporary signers on the Board of Trustee account to be maybe Jim Taylor and Jessica Pickett, requiring dual signatures. And then I think that's number 3, to be that any checks written out for supplies need to be paid directly to the vendor and not a reimbursement to employees unless priorly authorized by the Board of Trustees.
What she said.
Okay,
Second.
that's been moved by Ann and seconded by you, Steve.
Yes.
Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Jessica, or whoever is in charge of putting the minutes together for this meeting,
I'll do that.
yeah, you'll get a copy of that motion in appropriate form over to First National Bank so they can process our changes, right?
Yep, the nice thing is I'm doing a local recording of this, so I can hit rewind and type it up and have it ready to go pretty quickly.
All right, very good. That'll work well. Okay, then we get into a nice meaty subject, item number 7.
Okay.
Oh, before we do that, let's back up. Is there a motion for a temporary policy? We won't call it a temporary policy. We'll just call it a board policy. Is there a motion that all expenditures from the trustee account are to be made direct to vendors and not as a reimbursement to employees?
I had that as part 3 of your motion you just acted on.
Oh, I thought the 3 parts were the finance officer had access to view the account, we were going to use dual signatories, and that Jessica and I were the signatories.
Yep, that was the second part, and the third part was requiring reimbursements directly to the vendor without, otherwise it would need prior authorization from the Board of Trustees to be paid to an employee.
Okay, I split it into 4 parts instead of 3 then. Got it. That means we can move on to item number 7. The reopening policy and guidelines, and whoever worked that up did a nice job on it. That was an interesting read. So I'll let you get that up on the screen next.
Sure, and actually, the library staff did that. I think Zach was the one that put most of the work into this. He looked at what some other cities were doing and what recommendations were coming from other organizations, or other libraries, and your national associations and that kind of thing. In addition, then Jessica and I met with them on Wednesday or Thursday? Wednesday? Yeah, I can't remember. Jessica was muted, so I didn't hear her. And just kind of went through things a little bit more in detail to ask any concerns that we had. We told them we would bring these proposed policies to the Board of Trustees for discussion. We will share with you any additional concerns or comments that we have. And then once the library board is ready to make your decision, then we will do some public service announcements on what that policy and practice will be. In general, with city facilities, the things that we've been trying to ensure that we're doing is that we are recommending or strongly suggesting that customers are following CDC guidelines and Department of Health guidelines when entering our facilities, that they not come if they're displaying symptoms or feeling ill. If they've been exposed or have a positive test, please don't come in. Your library staff, I think this was Zach's recommendation, had the idea of doing the curbside pickup, which a lot of the other libraries were doing. They decided to go ahead and implement that this week because they have several patrons who aren't comfortable with picking up books or online, so they wanted the actual books to hold to do it, so they went ahead and started that. We can walk through here, and Jessica, if you want to unmute, because you can jump in with me on stuff that we discussed, so this doesn't have to be all me just talking. The first one, the phase 1 remaining closed, obviously
That's where we're at right now, right?
That's where we are at right now.
Oh,
Okay.
we're not, because we're not offering the curbside pickup yet.
Yep, this week we are. He said he did a press release last week and started this week. Yep. So we are doing the curbside pickup. One of the things that we discussed is having everyone entering through the west entrance of the library. Then that way we'll have one hand sanitizing station. We'll have all the notices for people. Library staff even suggested during the first week that they are open, they will have someone out there greeting them during the open time, kind of talking about what the revision and the policies will be. And if that's the case, then on the east side of the building, we could even add some signage where we're having the pickup occurring. The phase 1 could go back into effect if something happened locally where we became a hot spot and we started closing facilities. We would just automatically go back to that phase 1 status. The next one would be phase 2 limited openings. What we discussed with staff last week is that this would go into effect on Monday the 18th. One of the reasons for a little bit of the delay is we were trying, and Jessica got some plexiglass, I guess for lack of a better word, they're like sneeze guards that we were going to install on the circulation desk. We have 2 staff there that were concerned with the interaction with the public. We also,
They should be arriving on Thursday.
perfect. We did not get the wipes that we were anticipating we got the wipes, or the sanitizing spray, but we did not get the hand sanitizer in this week. I did find, Jessica, though, just today that on our COVID supply on Amazon, they have these like disposable Purell ones that come with a 1 liter, and it comes with 2 refills, and it's like a disposable stand that we could put on that west door. So, and it was like $135. So we could order that and track that with the COVID expense and get that going. And it says it would be here by the end of this week if I order it today. So we'll see.
Whichever hand sanitizer you get, try and get the stuff they were using at overtime yesterday afternoon.
Yeah.
I was laughing with Sean and Stephanie Moen because you squirt it on your hands and it smells exactly like tequila.
Oh, there's
It
some
obviously came from a distillery.
Yep.
That's great stuff.
There's one that smells like vodka too that I tried the other day. It's depending on which one it's coming from, which distillery. So you can see what they had suggested for. They wanted to do limited hours, 20 hours a week, Monday through Friday from 10 to 2. They would reserve from 10 to 11 for high risk patrons. They wanted to be closed for 20 hours so they could clean, shelf books, and do the rest of their daily work. And then they would make the curbside pickup available from 2 till 5:50. Jessica had that extended because I think originally they wanted to stop by 5, but we had them go till 6 so that people at work. This is just their suggestion. Obviously, let's open phase 2 up for discussion in case that's not where you guys are at, but we have provided N95 masks. We have one for every employee, so they have that. We are, like Jessica said, we've got those sneeze guards coming in this week, which is great.
Will they be installed in time, Jessica?
They should be.
Yeah, they're portable, you just set them on.
Okay.
The Alice was over again today measuring to try to do a plexiglass divider around the rest of the circulation desk. So they're trying to retrofit and build something that will work.
Do you think the 1 hour from 10 to 11 for high-risk patrons is a long enough period of time? Strikes me that a number of our patrons are probably a little older and perhaps more
Well,
health impaired.
the part that strikes me is, 20 hours to be open and 20 hours to clean. So if we could extend the open hours, then we could also extend the hours for the high risk,
Yeah.
my opinion, because that doesn't seem like a lot of hours open for a lot of hours of cleaning.
And you'll see down there in the patron, staff protection, like I said, we've already got the masks, we're doing the shields at the customer service desk, and the thermometers came in today, Jessica, so we are providing that at each city facility so people can check their temperature when they come to work. It's not for the patrons, it's for staff, not the public.
Okay, so every staff person is required to be temped before they come into the building?
They either have to check it at, some departments are saying they have to check it at home before they come to work. Others are allowing them to check it in the office, but we're providing a thermometer so everybody has the ability to check their temp before they come to work. And we have issued guidance to all city employees saying you take it once, and if you're above like 99, you have to sit for 5 minutes, you come back and take it again. And if you're elevated beyond, I think it's 100.2, you have to go home. And that's our city guidelines. We're following CDC guidelines for employers.
Okay. Is the staff wearing masks while they're at work?
We are, as a city, are not requiring it. There are departments that are requiring it. We are saying that if you're working within 6 feet of someone else, we want you to wear them. Staff at the library have been wearing them. Some of them are not covering nose and mouth, so you're kind of defeating the purpose.
But one is not.
What?
One staff is not.
Yep. And like the corn pallets, they're going to require all of their concession workers to wear them because they're interacting with the customer. So it's not required by the CDC. It's not required by the city council. So we're letting individual departments set that standard. If you as board of trustees want to require it, you're more than welcome to do so. But the city standard is if you're going to be working in close proximity within 6 feet, you should be wearing one.
I'm of the opinion that we should ask or even require all customers or patrons when they come in to be temped.
We can ask, we cannot require.
And it's the same thing for the mask then
Yep.
too, isn't it?
Yep, and we're gonna have those guidelines out, and we could potentially have a thermometer there, especially that first week when they're greeting people, if they wanna allow someone to do it. They are the,
Infrared,
yeah, you don't have to,
laser-based.
yeah, you don't have to touch yourself to do
Yeah.
them, so, they're semi-clean, and someone can do the hand sanitizer before and after. We are not requiring the mask. And for any other customers coming in, we're strongly encouraging them, and then we're gonna have signage up and communication out to the public on it.
Well, I think requiring our staff to wear masks as a matter of policy is a good idea. The last spot I want to be at is to have one of our staff members let go a nice sneeze and then be accused of infecting some 72-year-old patron.
So are you saying they should be wearing masks all the time, or only if they are, for example, at the circulation desk?
I think it should be all the time they're in the building.
Agreed.
Like I said, some departments are requiring it, and others aren't. So I think you have the latitude to set what your policy is for the staff operating in that department.
I
And
mean,
Jessica's, like all Jessica's bus drivers have to wear them for FTA, right?
Yes, they have to wear them at all times.
What if someone's in there working in an office by themselves?
That's the only time we don't require it here. When you're out in the public areas or on the bus, you have to wear it. I have to say today, everybody had their mask on unless they were doing, like Jean Patrick was doing her story time. She took her mask off during her story time, but she was in her desk area. Otherwise, when they sit at their desk, they do wear them, all except for one staff member does wear them all the time. When I was in the director's office today, I only put it on when people came into the office. Otherwise, I had mine around my neck when I was working by myself.
So are we going to offer them to the public?
Actually, Jean Patrick had talked about, working with a group to see if someone would be willing to donate facial coverings that they could have available at the door to the library, so people coming in, if they don't have one, they could choose to take one. We have provided one to N95 mask to every one of our, employees in the facility.
Does the board have any specific direction on the masks for all employees?
It would be an amendment under staff protection.
I guess I would like to, that they would wear them when they're dealing with the public. I'm not sure about if they're in a office by themselves or whatever, but anytime they're in the public area and dealing with the public and books in and out and that type of stuff, the idea of handing them, making a mask available for free for people coming in, I guess appeals to me. The issue I have with taking the temperature is we're creating a thermometer, unless there's somebody there taking everybody's temperature that we know isn't infected and washes it in between times. If we're having 50 people, different people come in and 50 different people pick up a thermometer, that concerns me. That's just creating a touch point to infect people.
And I don't know, unless you pass the policy saying you're not gonna allow someone into the library that has a temperature of over 100 degrees, how you could stop someone even if they did take it and they registered high.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, you're correct.
so,
But I mean, I mean, it's all the same questions that, you know, are you feeling okay? And,
Yep.
you know, do you have a fever? And if they deny it, I mean, they could be lying to you,
Right.
but, you know, basically, I mean, really,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, you would hope that people would not, but I don't know if taking someone's temperature in this kind of situation, I mean, it's not a healthcare facility. I mean, a healthcare facility is totally different, you know, can of worms, in my opinion. This is just a public facility,
Right.
so all we can do is, you know what our employees are doing, which is, yes, definitely take their temperature, however, whether they do it at home or at work, but, I mean, that you can require, but if it's open to the public.
and I think you're right, and that's kind of the approach that we've taken for the other city departments is that we wanted to be sure we could provide every protection possible for staff, so that's why we've installed the plexiglass thing.
Yep.
We've given staff the opportunity.
That makes sense to me.
What?
That makes sense to me,
Yeah.
but requiring them to wear a mask or requiring them to get their temperature taken when it's the general public,
Yeah.
That does not make sense to me.
No, we usually just are posting signage of what the signs and their 6 new symptoms of COVID, so we've included those on the signage of fever, cough, shortness of breath, or these and this, so, just communicating that to people,
The easiest way to put that is we can require our employees not to be stupid, but we can't require the public not to be
Right.
stupid.
And the other thing the city has even found is by doing the temperature checks and that screening process on employees every day, it is really helpful, because we had an employee who tested positive on a weekend. Well, we were able to go back and document to the Department of Health that that screening was happening on a daily basis, and so they
Sure.
didn't have to go back as far with contact tracing. So as far as requiring the employees to do that, we're going to continue to do that. We feel like we have an obligation as a public employer who's interacting with the general public to do so. But,
Well put.
you know, we can just strongly encourage people to follow the CDC and Department of Health regulations or guidelines with social distancing and screening themselves for signs or symptoms of COVID. The other thing that I will just throw out there, I know Jean said she was interested in trying to find someone who could maybe donate masks. On the site that we do have access to, they're not like N95 masks, they're like surgical masks or something, but they come in boxes of 2,000. If that's something that the trustees ever wanted to buy out of your account and make available to the public, that's certainly something you can look at. The city has some priority access because we're a government entity through Amazon business accounts. So we can get access to some of those things faster than the general public can.
And we did buy some of those for our transit customers to use, so they are handy to have in case they don't have their own face covering.
And are you finding transit customers will grab them and put them on if they don't have them?
Yes, they have to wear something according to FTA. So we
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
regulations where they have.
Okay.
And, you know, FTA is so different because they have to follow those guidelines for Jessica to get her grant funds. So it's easy for us
Right.
to say, we're going to do this because that's where the funding comes from.
Yeah, you don't wear a mask, we're not gonna have a bus service.
Yep.
That's,
Great.
well, let's jump backwards. Steve, did I hear a motion from you to, require our staff to wear masks when they're engaged with the public and in public areas?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I think I heard somebody say second.
Yeah, that was there.
That was David?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll put
Oh, okay.
him on.
I'm on.
Yeah, he's on.
On the, mic.
Yeah.
Any further discussion on that motion to require our employees to wear masks when in public areas and interacting with the public, and then all the other city guidelines, getting their temperature taken and all that stuff? There's no further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So then we're gonna modify phase 2 with the limited opening to, include
Yep.
what we just passed.
Next section would be the patron guidelines.
No.
Oh,
Wait a
yeah,
minute,
go
can
ahead.
we, revisit the hours
Oh,
that they're
yeah.
open?
Yeah, sorry.
Am I the only one who thinks that that's a lot of time for cleaning?
Well, and my question is, do we know, and obviously we don't from any experience of, so if we're open for a certain amount of time, how much time does it take to clean and get back to where we want to be? It looks like we just said, okay, 50-50 and start there, but if it only takes us 8 hours to clean and do whatever we need to do from the amount of people and books that are taken out, then what's going to happen in the other 12 hours?
So the reason they picked that 2 o'clock end time for the public to come into the building is because their janitor maintenance person leaves at either 2:30 or 3. So that gives him one last clean through after the public is done.
What time does he go in, Jessica?
Comes in at 6.
So who's doing the cleaning? What are they recommending?
Well,
That-
what we're
who's
saying for,
what?
what we're saying for staff is that anyone who has a customer counter, so I'll give the utility billing window here at City Hall, they're disinfecting, cleaning in between every customer that comes in. Yeah.
Sure.
So it's not just, and we had that conversation with staff last week, that it's not just like Denny is the only person doing this. Every individual has to be responsible for the area that they have interaction points at. In City Hall, in most city facilities, we are now going 2 to 3 times a day if you're open during regular business hours of the high touch, hard surface areas. In the rec center, they're going in some areas where there's a lot more touch, like in the exercise rooms, and they're doing that hourly. And they have a spray fogger. You can't really do that on books, so it's going to be wiping down doorknobs, countertops, customer interaction points. The keyboards, that'll be later in. The computer use, there's some guidelines with the cleaning of that. I'm not really sure what the cleaning protocols are. They do have also in here that any books that someone takes out and they're looking at is going to go into a special drop, and then everything goes into quarantine for 72 hours before they're reshelved.
Right, and I looked online at what other libraries across the country were recommending, and that was a good average. That seems very reasonable to me. So if you're taking the books off the shelf, but you're not checking them out, and they're, clear that these books do not go back on the shelf, and then you're quarantining them, then there's no cleaning to be done with those books, which you wouldn't anyway. I mean, because
Right.
books are a special case. So, I don't know.
His question still is there 20 hours of cleaning to do?
Right, and that seems crazy to me, because I think if every employee, if they divided it up, I think an hour is a lot of time to clean a day. And just because you're cleaning person, I don't understand who that is exactly or what their shift is or whatever, but I mean, if they can do that, go throughout the day and do whatever cleaning they want, and then at the end of the day, the staff can do the high touch areas and maintain their own personal area in between every patron. I think that 20 hours a week, 4 hours a day is way too much, in my opinion.
I think you guys should just set a operating hours, and staff will make it work around there. We did say that it seemed like a lot, I think their idea was just trying to ease back open. You have several staff in the department who have concerns about being open to the public at all.
Sure.
So that might be
I'm
part
up for
of
it too. So,
yeah. That might be part of that.
And am I reading that correctly, that the library is going to be closed on Saturday and Sunday completely?
Correct. That's a proposal.
And Jessica, who's usually working on the weekends? Is that our part-time staff?
They rotate.
Okay. I think you as a library board, make your, this is when you want to be open, this many hours, and staff will work around what the direction of the board is. We did communicate continuously that our role is to serve the public, and that means, we're going to be interacting with people, and that means, yes, there might be kids in there with their parents, and our job is to take out the direction of those who are setting the policy. So, I think whatever policy you set, we will take direction and carry out.
So this says it's going to be open 20 hours a week. Prior to all this COVID nonsense, how many hours a week was it open?
close to 60 hours a week. We're open about 3,000 hours a year, a little over, but the summer and winter items are off, and then in the summertime on Sundays, I think we were closed. Is that it?
Correct.
So roughly 60 hours a week, open, around 3,000 hours a year.
Why don't we do this? Here's what I would do. I'm gonna put a big star by the time, because I don't know if some of these other discussions might shape what you want the hours open to be. Does that make sense?
Okay,
Like a big old star and circle, we'll go back to that. The patron guidelines, we're gonna provide the hand sanitizer station at the, west entrance. They'll be strongly encouraged to wear face masks, we can't require that. On page 2 there, the staff is recommending that it's stated that, patrons are no lingering is allowed, that they should limit their visits to 30 minutes, in the library, and no longer than that per visit. They want minors who are coming into the building to be accompanied by a parent or guardian, and that they,
At what age do you not be?
18 and under. He actually
18.
has that quoted down below. It's the statutory age for a,
Where is it?
In the footnote.
on the footnote there.
Yeah, it says 18, but I don't buy that.
And the
Oh, here
thing
we go.
that I will say, back to the third bullet there, minors must be accompanied by a parent. They want them within 6 feet. The city is still saying that the city is not promoting any city youth activities through May 31st, because that was still the recommendation from the governor, or South Dakota Department of Health, as well as the federal guidelines. So the mayor's policy has been that the city won't have any city-sponsored youth activities through May 31st. Whether or not you want them to be able to come, at first it was gonna be no minors whatsoever, and then it was accompanied by an adult.
I say make it anybody under 16. Has to be with an adult.
Okay, apparently we were allowing people to use city supplies, like they might come up and get our phone and call their brother for a while. They're just asking that we don't allow public use of those things back and forth, during the reopening. I don't know how
That's fine.
yeah.
And, go ahead.
They want to continue doing the curbside pickup. They did suggest a limit of 10 people per building, or 10 people in the building at any time. And then they have a designated area where the books are brought back to. We would have people come in through the west entrance. The reason why the community rooms would not be available for public use or rent is that's where they're quarantining the books.
Oh, okay.
So-
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yep.
yep.
So what about the patron guidelines? I heard that anyone under age 16 versus 18.
I'd go with that.
I figure if a kid can drive a car and kill people at age 16, they ought to be able to be, walk around without a parent in the library.
So what you're saying is anybody under age 16 has to be accompanied by a parent. If they want to use a computer, you're going to have a parent and the child sitting together at the computer for that usage.
That's what they're suggesting.
Yeah.
Also notice that they put on there too, only one person or family allowed in each row. They were kind of thinking of doing it kind of what you see at the grocery stores, and maybe
Arrows
putting some
or-
one-way arrows and things like that.
One way.
Yeah.
Those get ignored.
Well, they do in some people don't. And then we are placing the social distancing signage on the floor, so we would have that by the circulation desk, and people do follow those pretty good, so.
Well, they're gonna have to fix the one person in an aisle, because if your 14-year-old kid is there with you, you gotta be within 6 feet of them.
It does say or family.
Family.
stop them from coming in if we have a limit of 10?
I don't know.
That doesn't seem like a wise use of their,
Are you still there?
10, and if he walks up to the west door and wants to come in, you can't let.
Oh, we're losing, hold on. My internet's not good, hold on. Nobody go away. What am I connected to? Huh, that's weird. Okay, sorry, we had a little glitch with our internet connection.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know where all you went. All right, is everyone still
Okay.
there?
Oh,
we're here.
I don't know where your faces all went. I lost you. Oh, here you are. Okay,
I still got it.
I found you. Changes to this area.
I think 10 is too low.
That seems low to me also. It's a lot of square footage.
Do you want to take the limit off altogether? We don't have a limit in other city facilities.
So you don't have a limit in City Hall or someplace?
Nope, not in the Corn Palace. Jessica, well, yours isn't open yet. We don't in the rec center. The city council.
Let's make it consistent with the rest of the city then and get rid of the 10 patron limit.
But is there something we tell the employees of how to handle it if we think it's too crowded? I have no problem saying no limit or whatever, but
One
what
of the,
If they
all
can't,
of a sudden
if they
a
can't,
family, a couple families in there and everybody's all crowded together?
I think that's partly why they were trying to do the no lingering, because they thought if you were just coming in and
Okay.
getting your things and leaving, you're not gonna have a bunch of people, hanging around other than, and you'll,
Sitting around talking?
yep, and you'll see under the access to computers and electronics, they have some recommendations there too, so.
Okay.
and basically if an employee can't maintain a 6-foot separation distance, then they're gonna have to start asking lingering patrons.
Patrons? Yep. Okay.
And I know in our conversation, Jessica and I were even saying, how are you gonna time someone who's been there for 30 minutes? And
Yeah.
they said 30 minutes, figuring someone might really be closer to 45 minutes to an hour, but if you're not placing it, it'll make people maybe hurry faster than they normally would anyways.
Yeah.
Rather than doing motions on all of this
Yeah.
stuff, do we have a general consensus on the 16-year-old change and the removing the 10 patrons?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we're in consensus on that, so carry on.
Okay, high-risk individuals, basically they were dedicating that first hour. So I think whenever you get back to determining what your opening time frame is, you typically want to do that first block of time because that's when it's just been cleaned. So is an hour long enough, or would you like to see 2 hours, and then we can just adjust it to wherever you guys end up with the hours as a final?
1 hour seems fine to me.
Okay. Grocery
Yeah,
store.
fine with me.
Okay,
Okay. Access to computers and electronics.
How are we gonna get that out to the public, that hour is for that time frame?
What I plan on doing is doing a press release with some of the highlight guidelines for patrons, and we're gonna
Okay.
hit our social media,
Okay.
and then we're gonna publish this document
Okay.
for referral.
I'd post it and put it on the doors too,
Yep.
or on the west side door.
Yeah, that's a great idea. have, actually Zach's been working on signage, so he's
Good.
done a good job on that too. Access to computers and electronics, we're basically removing half the computers so that they're spaced farther apart. We have ordered skins to cover the keyboards so that they can be wiped down and not damage the keyboards. And then they want to limit it to 30 minutes once a day. They want them to schedule time to be on a computer, although if they come in and they just want to sign up for a time, they could also come in and sign up if they want to encourage people to schedule that time. I believe that came from one of the other libraries. I think Zach said one of the other libraries was doing that.
That's a good, I like
I think
that.
that's one of our policies anyway, isn't it, that you,
Right now, it's an hour.
yeah, but I mean, you sign up and,
You sign up if there isn't one available, yeah.
yeah, if there's one open, fine, just go use it as long as it isn't already reserved, so.
And
So
then,
that's consistent with what we've done all along.
and then the other thing is they would like to provide Wi-Fi outside of the building, during hours maybe that you're not, so if you're not open your regular hours, but we would make Wi-Fi accessible outside of the building during those hours that we're not open. During the time that you're open too, but if you're working reduced hours, you're only doing 30 and you normally do 40, well, those other 10 hours, we would still allow the Wi-Fi accessible outside of the building.
Thought we did that already.
As far
Yeah,
as
isn't it?
to the entry, like the doorways, and it was only while the building was in operation.
Boy, that did not square with what we directed Jackie to do months ago.
I don't think so. I thought we said we wanted to make it available outside, or we didn't know how far it would reach, but we thought at least in the parking lot.
That's kind of what I've had conversation with Andrew about, was the parking lot, and if you don't want a restriction on the time frame, that's fine.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to
Does
me
it
why
cost
we
us
would
anything to
restrict it.
extend the time?
It's there, it's there. Doesn't make any difference when.
The only thing is, I need to make sure that's not on our network. If you're,
Oh, okay.
if you're not paying for a separate connection, you won't be able to leave it open 24/7 because all of our data backup happens overnight. So we need our pipe overnight.
Well, whatever hours you need, if that's the
Okay.
case, whatever hours you're doing your backup and it needs to be shut down, that makes sense, but keep it open
Okay.
as many hours as you can.
Yeah, and it might be a separate connection. I have to ask Andrew. I know we do still have some free ones in town, so.
Okay.
That's just talking about the loaning of books, using the east side as a drop-off. We can actually put up signage. It would come to the next board meeting. If you guys want to support that curbside pickup, we talked about signing a few parking spots there for curbside pickup. Right now, there's excuse me?
Yeah, that's great. That's a good idea.
Yep,
Great, I like that.
excellent plan.
You can see the outline of how that works. Oh gosh, I'm doing
Yep.
it on my paper copy, not on this one, sorry. So basically, they'll call, someone from curbside will come and set it down, and then the patron can pick it up. Right now, they had that they would set it on the sidewalk. Really, or people are wearing masks when they're interacting with the customers, and they've already touched the books. I don't know why they can't just take it to the car. I guess that's the only thing that I thought was weird.
I agree.
Our nutrition pickup to-go meals, we deliver it to their vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure I want a bag of books sitting in the rain out on the east shore.
And what usually happens is they roll down their passenger window and we just set it inside the seat in their passenger window.
Perfect.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Yeah, let's modify that to correspond with what you're doing, as you just described, Jessica.
Okay, so then we're back to the 72 hours quarantine. Nobody had any issues with that timeline?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Okay.
I think that's great.
Yeah, it's obvious that we're making that one up as we go, so follow whatever the recommendations are.
Right? So now you're back to your hours of operation. We'll let you get back after that fun, so.
I did look at the time the library is open. For summer hours, we're open 51 hours a week, and for winter hours, we're open 63 hours a week.
Yeah.
That's
So can we be open 30 hours? And what about at least one of the weekends? Can we be open some hours on a Saturday, or is that out of the question right now?
You're going where I was going, Steve. Let's add an additional day of service if we can, which would be Saturday. And if we can't, then let's close one day during the week. I think we need to be open at least one day on the weekend.
Yeah, at least for the, I'm thinking in the next 4 to 6 weeks timeframe, and, you know, kids aren't in school, but there's still technically some school. And then when the summer comes, I mean, that's when we saw usually the rash of the younger kids wanting to be on computers and stuff, but if they have to be with their parents, then that's gonna, you know, shut them down a little bit. But if they know and don't have Wi-Fi and they're sitting in the parking lot, they'll be sitting there anyway if they trying to connect on a tablet or something else. So I'm thinking I'd like to see it Saturday at least, and the rest of I'm thinking would be to talk with the staff to see how we can make that work, and then I go back to really how long does it take to do the cleaning that we think is needed.
And our janitorial staff comes in at 6 a.m.
If you have one person, he works from 6 to 2:30 or 3, depending on his lunch break.
Why does he do that? I mean,
Just
it's
does all the cleaning in the morning,
before it opens.
comes in, yep.
We have staff that come here to City Hall at 7:30 and clean before we open to the public too. That's really early though, 6:30.
Yeah, he's always done that as far as I've known.
Two things I want to make sure everyone saw too is that in phase 1, so you see the summer reading program is through Read
Yep.
Squared, so it's an
Yep.
online program. They were thinking about continuing that through the summer just to not encourage the gatherings at the library. And they also talked about
Yep.
removing furniture from like the kids area and the teen area so that it's not a place for lingering.
That's
Oh,
what
okay.
we moved all the furniture last week out of the kids area,
Okay.
and the teen room has been locked up.
Yeah, that's right.
That sounds good.
So Jessica, what's your feel on, can we be open a Saturday?
Yeah.
On Saturdays?
I would just need to know if it'd be permissible to allow part-time employees to work or not.
But we're not.
And that's no?
Well, here's my question. If you're not working regular hours down during the week, why wouldn't we just adjust the full-time schedule to cover the days? I mean, if we were
I
open,
thought exactly.
if we were open 63 hours before and we're open 20 now, shouldn't we be able to adjust our full-time staff to cover the Saturdays?
Absolutely, we should be able to.
Especially knowing that we didn't reduce our budget like we thought?
It would be nice if we could, I guess. I don't know the logistics of that, so.
Well, if we've been able to cover 63 hours a week,
Yeah, but that's with some part-time help though, right?
that's
Correct.
with some part-time help. But we're going down to 20 hours a week, plus another 6 or 8, however many hours it is on Saturday. That's 28 hours a week.
But we're also saying, well, I'm hoping that we're going to be open more than 20 hours a week.
Oh, okay.
Now, let's not forget, you're open till 6. I mean, no, you're only open to the public till 2, but you're paying the people till 6.
Right.
So that is more than the 20 that we're
Right.
actually paying the staff.
Right. Right, that's why I'm like, if you're not open to the public, you're not having as much interaction and work,
Yeah.
so we should be able to adjust scheduling. You don't need all 5 there, when you're only open 4 of the hours, maybe
No,
instead of 8 of the hours.
Depends on how busy the curbside.
Today they operated
is.
with 3 employees.
What's that?
Today they operated with 3 employees. And Zach was very busy answering phones and running back and forth. But they operated just fine with 3.
Well, my suggestion is that we're open to the public, later, from 10 in the morning till
I'd go till 4.
4.
I'd go 10 to 4 for the public, an additional hour and 50 minutes for curbside. Saturday hours are 10 to 4.
What was that, Saturday hours, 10 to 4 also?
Yes, total.
Okay.
No curbside, close at 4 completely with no curbside going till 5:50.
On Saturday,
Yes,
okay.
So curbside's really only from 2 to 4 on Saturday.
no,
No curbside.
yes, yes.
Right, yeah, while they're open already.
While they're open, yeah. So curbside starts at 2 o'clock every day, ends at 5:50 on weekdays, and ends at 4 o'clock on Saturdays.
Is that correct? Okay.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Quick question, so on Saturdays, we're open 10 to 4, but they'll still do curbside from 2 to 4?
Yeah.
Yes,
Can we make that work?
I don't know if we'll be able to do both curbside and be open at the same time, because Zach maintains the front desk,
I
and
see.
he's the one who does the curbside.
But I'm wondering, Jessica, can we flex someone to work Tuesday through Saturday? You know what I mean?
Yeah, shift them around so they're 5-day work week.
Instead of everybody working Monday through Friday.
Yeah, we would do that, but I'm just wondering that you need 2 people, one person at the front desk and one person to do that curbside for those last 2 hours on Saturday.
So can 2 people work Tuesday through Saturday, and the other 2 work, or the other 3 work Monday through Friday, and then flip-flop?
How about we compromise on Saturday, go 10 to 2 for public access on Saturday and 2 to 4 for curbside pickup.
That would be helpful in scheduling.
Okay.
and remember that the first hour on Saturday would, at this point, still be just for the high-risk patrons.
Yes.
And then the staff is going to stay from 4 till 6 and clean?
Do whatever they need to do.
That seems like a lot of time for cleaning.
It still seems like a lot of time to clean.
But it might be that with the Saturday adjusting some schedules, it might work itself out. I would give Jessica some time to look at the schedule a little bit for people.
Yeah.
At 2 hours, they technically come in at 9 and they get set up for the day. So they would probably work from the 9 to 5 time and give them an hour to clean afterwards.
And what do they do from 9 to 10 ordinarily?
That's when they set up and clean for the day.
So we're still allowing them 2 hours a day to clean.
Right, and they do their regular stuff for the day. Get ready for the day, they said.
Then to address the janitorial question, because I'm sure none of our library staff wants to go swab out pots and that sort of thing. We've extended the hours that were open past when the janitor now leaves. How much trouble are we going to get in when we tell him to quit coming in at 6 a.m. but instead come in at 7 a.m. and work an hour later?
7 to 3 versus 6 to 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
7 to 4, whatever it works out to be. Because that'll give him an hour later in the day, which will then meet the same desire that the staff had, that the janitor can make a sweep through the building before we close up to the public, or after we close up to the public.
Right, and just keeping in mind that, often we have city facilities that are open after the janitor leaves. That happens here in City Hall and Corn Palace, well, Corn Palace, I guess it doesn't, but other ones. And we may have to give 10 days notice on change of schedule, so, Jessica and I will have to, due to the union contract, so we'll have to sit down and look at how that'll work out. It might be that for 2 weeks, we don't do the Saturday, and then we add the Saturday so that we can get the required notification into the timelines for AFSCME with the staff.
Okay,
I think that goes with the whole thing, make sure it fits in your collective bargaining
Yeah.
agreement requirements, so.
What else?
I'm gonna have to leave the meeting because I have to get down to the City Hall for the Golf and Cemetery Board meeting at 5:45 down there.
No one here yet.
They're supposed to be pretty soon.
Is there any other changes to this document, or would you like to take action with those changes incorporated, requiring the use of masks for staff? The revised hours that I have are Monday through Friday, 10 to 11 being high risk, 11 to 4 to the public, 2 to 5:50 being curbside pickup. Saturdays, 10 to 2 to the public, and 2 to 4 is curbside. And it's
Yes,
kind of,
I'd like that if we take that action, and then you can figure out if it all fits in.
okay.
I will make the motion
We got a
to
motion.
incorporate
Steve, is
that.
there a second?
Second.
And then we're also changing minors to anyone under the age of 16.
16. Yep.
Correct.
And check the Wi-Fi availability.
And delivering the drop-off books to the vehicle.
Correct.
Yes.
Jessica, anything else on that?
Any further discussion? Those in favor of the motion to modify the reopening process, or to adopt the reopening process as modified through our discussion, signify with an aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. We have our reopening policy in place.
Okay, Jessica, director's update. I think we covered all my comments here in the first discussions. I will say Jessica has spent a tremendous amount of time over in the facility getting things organized and cleaned up. Her bus drivers have also given some time moving a lot of the craft supplies downstairs.
Thank you, Jessica.
You're welcome.
Still a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, so. But Jessica, anything else that you have to bring up?
Okay, so some of the things that I found, I did find all the bank statements, which is good. So we'll have to go through that. As I stated before, there's a lot of bills that we'll have to go through, and I have a couple of staff members here that are going to do the bills. But I also found some other things that I kind of need your opinions on. I found a bunch of checks that people gave us for either a donation or because they were ordering a copy of an obituary from the paper or an article they wanted a copy for the paper. And they date back to 2011, 12, 13, these checks do, that we found all over.
$5, $3.
Yeah, like I have one for $20, $6, $4, $5.
The checks are written to who?
Mitchell Public Library.
And they're
And
from
never cashed?
11, and they're from 2011?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they just have to be destroyed. I mean, they can't be cashed.
Right. I didn't think they should be cashed. I don't know. I don't have the addresses for some of these people. I don't know if they still are alive, or how we should contact them or reach out to them.
What is the aggregate amount of the checks, the total?
Probably about $50.
And what's the most recent?
2013.
Shred it.
Just get rid
Yeah.
of it.
And then we also have a bunch of cash that I found. A lot of cash.
Like how
Have
much?
you found more now?
You're muted, Jessica.
Jessica just went away.
Sorry about that. Yeah, there's a lot. I'd say there's a good 300 plus in cash.
And that didn't have any notes or attribution to where it came from?
Depends on the cash. So some are in memory as well as a donation. Another's just an envelope with some money in it. Another one was it was like a $2 for a copy of an obit. But that was sent back in 2009.
Good Lord.
I found one that just says donations on it. I found money in the drawers.
Doesn't she have like a personal box still that has stuff in it too?
Yeah, then
side
a
drawer?
petty cash container. I didn't touch the petty cash. That's still as is. One that said pot money.
It'll just be deposited as a lump sum and start.
Yeah.
Clean slate.
Let's deposit
That one.
that all in the trustee account.
Do all of does all the revenue go into the trustees account, or like if people are if they're making copies on the city copy machine, does it pay back that?
No, it goes all to the trustee account. Any money that they receive is always gone into the trustee account.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
that that's where it goes. I'm saying, is there policy on that, or?
There's a South Dakota Attorney General's decision, both from Meyer Henry and from Dellinghusen, that authorizes us to do that.
Okay, and does the trustees pay back any of the, expense for the copy machine?
No.
Is that all, Jessica, that we, I will tell everyone too, we did find that, one of the purchases that we were making for crafting materials was to an employee's business. I did tell them that that's not allowable, even though they were paying for it out of the trustee account.
Trustees.
If it was a city account, we would have to note that on our audit, and an employee can't personally benefit from taxes. So we told them that
Right.
that's not allowable going forward, and we would not pay for any supplies ordered this year, from that employee's business.
And then when they were writing the checks for the supplies that they bought, these people were getting charged tax. So the
Oh, my
trustees are paying the tax on these items that were purchased as well. And then I also found the letters that were written to those consultants. And they were,
Oh, yeah?
they were never mailed out, but they were written. So I will make sure we get those mailed out.
The last round of consultants we did for the space study and that stuff in January, early February?
Yep.
We never mailed those out?
Never mailed, they're just written in on the desk.
Crap.
Crap.
But the office is really pretty right now and organized and clean and ready for the new library director.
And we do have that position posted, and in talking,
Yeah, I saw that.
talking to the HR director, we already have applications coming in, qualified
Oh.
applications coming in,
That's good.
so.
Good, good, good.
And we moved a lot of stuff that was in that back area downstairs. A lot.
Thank you.
And Jessica got 2 dehumidifiers added to the, record.
Nope. We need to.
Oh, we
That
haven't
was
gotten
next
them
on my
yet,
list.
okay.
So our archive room downstairs in the basement has no dehumidifiers and mold is growing on the items. So we need
Oh.
2 dehumidifiers, and I'd like to use the trustee account to purchase that. They broke a couple of years ago, according to Denny, and he was told there was no money to buy new ones.
There a motion to buy humidifiers?
So moved.
Second.
How much do they cost?
I'm guessing a couple hundred at the most.
Couple $100.
Yeah. I bought some this last fall during the flood, and I think there were a couple hundred at the most.
250.
So the movement, you're willing to put a limit on that of no more than $300?
Each?
No more than 300 apiece.
So we got a motion and a second. Those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Find some humidifiers and let's get the archives going the way they should be. Good grief.
Anything else?
Wow, we covered a lot of ground, thank you. Yeah.
Watch your email. I would anticipate we will probably be having another, and I can't remember, when's your regular meeting?
Third Tuesday of the month.
Third Tuesday, and we are in the what?
We're on the second Monday.
So actually,
Yeah, it'd be the 19th.
if we could just plan our regular meeting next week, we should have at least some more updates and let you know how, the planning is going for staff with the reopening.
That'd be great.
I'm good.
Does that work?
Oh, hold it. Oh, that's all right, yep. I've got a meeting the 19th at 7 o'clock, but as long as it's before that.
And you guys normally meet at 4?
4:30.
4:30.
Oh, 4:30, okay. I will get that down correctly. And we can do this Zoom format again, and I will still stream it and have it open to the public, so anyone who wants to come in can, or if you're more comfortable on Zoom, this worked pretty decent till I lost you all your pictures there for a little bit, but we got you back.
No, this works well. Thank you for setting it up, and let's do
Yep.
that again next Tuesday.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
I want to thank Stephanie and Jessica particularly for all of the work they've done on this. It's
I agree.
outstanding job. You've walked into a mess, and we know it takes time to get a handle on it. And the second thing I'd like to say is I'm sorry that Carolyn is having, I understand, some kind of health problem. She's been very reticent to share what that is, but I understand her concerns, and I hope she gets better and makes it through whatever this all is.
I didn't know if I
And-
could share that, so I didn't say that publicly. Sorry.
And then the third thing is, I think what we've learned today, courtesy of Jessica and Stephanie's reporting, and I think we were all fairly well on point again, is the way that Jackie's tenure at the library ended is somewhat unfortunate, but I believe we're seeing why what happened needed to happen. So I think we can move forward as trustees knowing we've done the right thing. So thank you all for your service on this.
Okay. And Steve, I was wrong. I hear people in the hallway. Oh, he's off now. Oh, no, there you are. So there must be a meeting.
All right, thank you all very
Yeah.
much. We're adjourned until next Tuesday at 4:30.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
let's see if I know how to do this now. Stop share.
Oh, what happened here?
Glad I'm not the only one that sounds like that. What did I do wrong here?
Stephanie,
Yeah.
rough idea of how many